The stupid infidels are everywhere. They're getting stupider by the day. And when you remind them about jihad, they say appeasement is the way. They'll find out one day how wrong they were, and that cowardice does not deter. That's the big rhyme for today, ladies and gentlemen. And now you know what that means. It is time for This Week in Jihad. And we have the great David Wood once again gracing this channel. Good morning, David.
Morning.
I hear the latest on Muhammad Hijab is not good for our hero. What's going on with old Mo?
Well, where do I begin? So he was already in trouble for for the scandal that he's been taking on secret extra wives, secret from his original wife, because she caught him once with a secret second wife, and then she apparently left him for a while, took the kids, so he had to promise her, I swear by the great God Allah, we'll never do that again.
But wait a minute, David, I got to ask you, I got to break in here and ask you, why on earth was she upset? Did she not know what she was getting into when she married this man? Did she not read her book and see that he could take three other wives and that she had no grounds to protest?
Yeah, well, they also apparently believe that you can make agreements before a marriage and say, like, I agree that I'm only going to marry you and stuff like this. But Hijab has shown he doesn't believe he has to honor those agreements. He can lie. He believes he can lie.
Gee, where'd you get that idea?
Yeah, I know. And he believes that men can just change their mind. So, hey, if I make an agreement here and then, we get married and I change my mind, so what? I changed my mind.
So you mean that a Muslim can make an agreement with someone and then when it's no longer advantageous, he can break it? Where did he get that idea?
Yes, but I mean, you have, and I've seen Hijab point to the opening verses of Surah 66, verses 1-2, which the historical background is Muhammad got caught in the bed of his wife Hafsa with his slave girl, Mary the Copt. They all understood he's allowed to have sex with his slave girls. They just didn't like him rolling around in the hot Arabian desert in their own beds, sweating all over it and making their, stinking up their beds. So,
but David, isn't it about sneaking off and eating honey when he said he wouldn't?
Yeah, that's that's what they like to tell us. But anyway, so
it's an alternative hadith. Mm-hmm. Because, of course, we know the hadith are all fictional, so it's two different fictional stories designed to explain Surah 66. Anyway,
or in this case, a really accurate story. So Muhammad swears by the great. He's trying to get his wives to quit nagging him about having sex with his slave girl in their bed. So he swears by the great God Allah, I swear I will never have sex with that woman again. And then he got a revelation from Allah saying, what? You can break your oaths. Just go back to banging the slave girl. And apparently Muhammad Hijab took that as his inspiration for all future relationships. So after promising his wife, apparently, before they get married, that he won't do it, and then doing it anyway, then she eventually accepts him back on the condition that he definitely never does it again. And of course, he went right out and did it, and he's been exposed. And so he had that whole scandal going on. But then, just when you thought things couldn't possibly get worse for the great Muhammad Hijab, he's had his lawsuit. He's had his lawsuit. I don't know how much you've been following it, but
I didn't know it existed until I heard the decision. So,
yep, sued The Spectator and Douglas Murray, and it's for them saying that he was going around stirring up hostility against Hindus, right? And Hijab's response, is to call that defamation because he was specifying Hindutva, not Hindus in general. And so they've defamed him. And so the lawsuit said that he lost all these endorsements, all these Muslim charities and so on, were charities, businesses, whatever, were ready to shower him with money, not shower him in the golden shower sense that he sends, messages to us about. They were just ready to pile cash on him, not pile on in the Al Zut sense, but they're just ready to give this guy stacks of money, $3,500 a month for this, $30,000 for that, and so on. And then after the Spectator article came out, though, boy, they sent Muhammad Hijab a stern message and said the judge picked up on this and makes fun of this. The judge was awesome. This dude not falling for anything. But the judge's response is, look, we can see that all these guys are your friends. Everyone who's saying that they were paying you all this money are your friends. Why are they addressing you as, attention, Mr. Muhammad Hijab, our organization? Why is it all formal? And how come when they say they have to not go through, they have to cancel the arrangement, they're basically saying when they're canceling the arrangement, they're sending Muhammad Hijab the cancellation notice saying, Muhammad Hijab, it is unfortunate that because of the Spectator article and the things that Douglas Murray has said, that we have to not pay you this $3,500 a month for this number of months, thus losing you this amount of money. And the judge is like, are you serious? This is exactly what he said. He's saying, the judge is saying, this sounds like it was made specifically for this defamation case, and it totally was. And he just picked all the worst possible picks. The judge is like, look, this guy right here is saying he was going to pay you. Why did this guy serve time in prison for a car accident scam where he's scamming insurance companies for car accidents and things like that? So anyway, the judge said this guy's a liar and his testimony and evidence are completely worthless and dismissed the case.
Well, Muhammad Hijab is having a run of bad luck. It seems to me, David, he's coming to a checkmate point. He's lost his credibility. He's lost his following in the Muslim community, except probably for other guys who were doing the same things that he was doing. And where's he going to go from here?
Well, that's the thing. He'll still have his loyal following because they don't care. Robert, you think Muhammad Hijab's fans care if he treats Muslim women like prostitutes?
Well, why wouldn't they, David? Why? Islam respects women.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. We would all look at something like this and say, wait, he's trying to scam. He's lying in court under oath to try and scam people out of money. Do you think they'll have a problem with him lying to the kuffar and using deception to try and silence Douglas Murray? And will even one of them have a problem?
No, not in the slightest degree. I do wonder, though, if the infidels who have given him so much attention are going to keep on featuring him.
We're all featuring him right now, Robert.
Well,
we're
I'm
featuring
talking
him
about
left
guys
and right.
like Piers Morgan and Jordan Peterson and all the other people that put the big spotlight on him as if he were some kind of a representative of the Islamic community in Britain and the West in general. Are they going to be turned off by these things or find them revealing? Be interesting.
I certainly hope they give Muhammad Hijab the platform he so richly deserves. So here's basically the situation. Everyone's going to just treat him like a joke, except for his fans who will still remain loyal, and they'll continue to do so. So it's not like he's done. They'll continue to treat him as a hero until he becomes far more of a liability than he could possibly help. In other words, once he becomes such an embarrassment that they can't even bring him up anymore without just people just go, are you serious? The guy who treats Muslim women like prostitutes, the guy who had this scam, the guy. And really, from an Islamic perspective, you're obviously not going to have a problem with treating women like prostitutes. You're obviously not going to have a problem with trying to scam the kuffar out of money. The thing that actually should bother Muslims is that he's willing to take down everyone with him, right? He's willing to take down everyone with him. Everyone's getting in trouble over their connection to Muhammad Hijab right now because he'll have everyone lie for him. And then when the lie gets exposed, it's not just him lying, it's everyone else around him who's lying. And so you see it like a speaker's corner now. One of the Dawa guys will be there ready to speak, and people are coming up to him. Hey, why'd you help Muhammad Hijab lie about and abuse that woman? and it's just they can't even read their Dawa script anymore without this getting brought. So once it reaches a certain threshold of this guy's no longer worth it, then then we won't hear much from him, and he can go become the stripper that he wanted to be.
I thought of that actually when I didn't see the whole thing. I can't even tell you where it was now, but you will probably know. It was a clip that I just ran across by chance the other day. I was looking for something else, and I end up seeing Hakikaju and Muhammad Hijab, and Muhammad Hijab is talking about temporary wives and saying,
Yep.
now someone who partakes of this kind of thing, and starts to laugh. And Hakikaju starts to laugh, and they both have a big giggle about this, making it quite obvious that they are among those who do this kind of thing. And so I'm wondering if they're going to be seismic reverberations here, and it's going to end up taking down the whole Dawagandist crew.
Well, for the people in the crew, I mean, guess what? There's a reason Daniel and Hijab are discussing that and laughing about it and so on. In that video, Hijab estimates that 85% of Da'is, people in the Dawa community, guys in the Dawa community, are polygamous. They're marrying multiple women and so on. And then he's being asked, which women are most comfortable with this and so on. He says the revert girls take it best. And then he goes, from my experience of observing, and then they both start laughing. And so he says, from my experience, and then he starts, and then he says, that's from observing. Yeah. So, any non-Muslim watching that, and even lots of Muslims would look at that and go, wow, these guys are absolute evil scumbags. Their fans don't think so. Their fans love it. Their fans love, yes, we strong macho cavemen. We treat women like this. They love it. So again, not going to hurt their credibility with their fans. Their fans know they're like this, and their fans love it. But the more horrified everyone else becomes, it's like, dude, you're turning Dawa into like a joke of a sex cult, right? It's like everyone else, when they hear Dawa from now on, is going to be like, wait, where these guys trick women, dupe women with lies into converting to Islam so they can get them as their third and fourth extra wives, and they treat them like prostitutes, and they just bang them in hotels and stuff like that. Like that. That's what you're trying to tell us. We're supposed to listen to these guys. And then, of course, when you're dealing with Hijab lying in court and so on, so obviously he believes it's okay to lie. He even supports lying to your wives about your other wives and stuff like that. Like, why would you listen to this guy when he gives you evidence? And it's just funny that the judge's conclusion was his evidence is worthless, because that's what people are going to start thinking about his Dawa career. His evidence is worthless. You can't trust this guy.
Yep. Well, we could have told you that all the way along.
And we
all right. I started out today with a poem about stupid infidels because, David, there is Jihad news this week, but there is a preponderance of stupid infidels news. And I think the biggest story is out of Washington State. You probably have seen this guy. That is Ihsan Ali, and we talked about him some months ago when he was initially arrested along with his wife Zahra, and they were trying to kill their daughter Fatima outside her high school in Washington State.
Yeah. Okay, now I remember.
Yeah, and she had a non-Muslim boyfriend. And so, as it turns out, it was very clear, even in the trial. I mean, it was very clear from video that was taken at the time that he was trying to kill his daughter. It was extraordinarily clear from the trial that he was trying to kill his daughter. He had her in a chokehold, and the prosecutor says she's unconscious, and he continues to strangle her around the neck for another 15 to 18 seconds, and would have continued to do so longer but for the intervention of those adults.
Yep.
Even after
they were kicking and stomping him, trying to get him off.
Yeah, and he wouldn't let her go. She talked about on the stand how she was afraid of dying, afraid that he was going to kill her, and he was just convicted of assault, not of attempted murder, because the judge said, we're not talking about motive here, and we're not going to talk about honor killing. it would be
Why?
Islamophobic to get into all that. It would prejudice the jury.
It would prejudice. So keep in mind, it's obvious what's going on. There's a reason he was willing to kill his daughter in broad daylight. That is how you restore your family's honor after being dishonored. And so they have no problem doing this in broad daylight if necessary. And he was. And it was taking multiple people kicking, punching, stomping on him to get him to release this. And so you've got a judge saying, no, 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 no. All that would be Islamophobic. And by the way, I mentioned it back then. Um, I'll just mention it again. If you see a guy and he's choking a woman to death and you're kicking and stomping and you can't get him off, it's very simple. Go for the eyeballs, everyone. So you take your thumbs and you jam them into his eye sockets and he will, I promise you, let go.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Seems to me motive ought to be part of an attempted murder trial.
You would think that,
Should
wouldn't
it
you?
not? Yeah.
Yep. Means motive. Yeah, means motive and opportunity. Yeah, it's normally you talk about motive. No, we're just going to rule out motive because we know what the motive is, and that would be Islamophobic to discuss the motive. Well, what a joke of a judge.
Yep. Don't want people thinking that there might be something wrong with Islam here.
I seriously wish they had the same judge as the judge who decided the Muhammad Hijab case, because that guy was brilliant and he was falling for absolutely nothing. And I didn't think that. I would think their entire system is screwed up garbage. Apparently, there is at least one good judge left in that country. I can't speak for the rest because they keep doing stuff like throwing Tommy Robinson in prison over nonsense. But there's one good judge there, apparently.
Well, look, I don't know if this is true, but I saw it in the comments as they were going along. Now I can't find it, of course. Somebody was saying it's the same judge that just threw Tommy back in prison.
Really? Oh, that would be interesting. I would have to cover that judge.
Yeah, I don't know what the guy's thinking. But anyway, the other big
I have to say, because on a serious note, like when we try to figure out why they're going after Tommy, think about this. That's if it's the same judge, but regardless, Tommy Robinson, it's been pointed out, his message is basically the exact same thing that Douglas Murray's saying. These guys are saying the exact same thing. Douglas Murray can be writing for newspapers and can be on every news program and stuff. Tommy Robinson is like, keep throwing this guy in prison and stuff. And it's kind of foreign to us, but they have this like elitism and classism over there. It's like the working class, you guys shut up. You do not have a right to speak. Keep your mouth shut or we'll just lock you up over complete nonsense. But if you're Oxford educated and so on, yes, we'll help you. So it would be possible that you have judges who are also have that mentality. Douglas Murray, how dare you challenge him? But Tommy Robinson, he's here. Oh no, lock him up.
Anyway, people are asking the judge's name. All I have is Schaller. They usually don't give the...
No, that's not the judge's name.
Oh, it's not the judge name in Tommy? Okay, so it's whoever is saying that does not seem to be the case. All right. Oh, no, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I must withdraw. Schaller is the guy in Washington State who said, we're not going to talk about motive in the honor killing case. Sorry. Mr. Justice Johnson, I'm told. Once again, it's in the comments. I don't know.
That's the judge of the hijab case.
Okay, well, there could be more than one Mr. Justice Johnson, so I don't know if it's the same guy. Something to look into. I'll see if I can let you all know next time. Meanwhile, we had massive deception this week. War is deceit.
Hang on.
Yes.
I'm just trying to think. Maybe the system is different over there or something like that. But normally, judges who specialize in defamation suits would be kind of different from judges who are, deciding the kind of cases that Tommy Robinson would be involved in, unless they just cover them all over there. But normally, have different kinds of judges for different kinds of cases. So I don't know. No idea.
Makes sense, but I really don't know. All right, big story this week in the larger media is the fakery of the famine in Gaza. And there were pictures going around all over the world of the famine in Gaza, starvation by the wicked Israelis, of the poor Palestinians. This was the cover of Time magazine, all these poor women trying to get food. Nobody's got anything. And it turns out it was a staged photo by a Palestinian Muslim photographer who sold it, went all around the world. Also featured recently was a spate of photos of purportedly starving children with adults who were not starving. And uniformly, the New York Times, CNN, all of these places, turned out they were running pictures of children with diseases.
Mm-hmm.
And they were not starving at all. They just were suffering from various illnesses. And this is why the people around them were not starving. The whole thing being faked so as to gain support for the jihad against Israel and to demonize the Israelis for resisting it.
Yeah, I have to say, if you ever see a picture of one of my sons starving, I'll be starving in that picture too. There's no scenario where I'm going to be 235 pounds and my kid is starving, but that's what you see over there over and over again. And so
Yeah.
it's basically it's either fake, which we know because they keep doing it with kids with various diseases and so on. But if it were authentic and this were just a completely otherwise healthy but starving child, and you're 235 pounds, that means you're starving the kid, right? And
that's right.
And possibly
You're eating all the
deliberately,
food.
and possibly deliberately, as in I'm going to starve this kid just for a photo op.
Yeah, which would be even worse.
That would be even more evil.
And we also had the story of the Israeli hostage, and here it is. Okay, and that was a video that Hamas put out of this man, Evyatar David, who is a hostage. He was taken out of the Nova Music Festival, where many people were massacred by the jihadis, and he's been a hostage ever since. So for a year, almost 2 years now. And he is clearly actually starving. He is not fake starving, photo op starving. He is really starving, and the cruelty of his captors is boundless. In one of the most famous episodes of this video, David, is where he was made to dig a grave, and he says, "This is the grave where I think I'm going to be buried in." And you can see the guy's just skin and bones. But look at the arm of the person who is handing him a cup of water.
Mm-hmm.
The video ended, they eat what with a statement that said, "They eat what we eat." That is, the Hamas people were claiming that the Israeli hostages get the same food that Hamas gets. That is, that they're all starving. But the Hamas arm here, the guy's fine.
Yeah, his arm's like the size of that dude's leg.
Exactly. And so it's very clear that they are, if there's for real starving in Gaza, it's the Israeli hostages. It is not the Hamas, jihadis, or the ordinary people of Gaza. And this was a story out of the German newspaper Bild that unmasked the photographer, and his name is Anas Zayed Fateha, and he is a journalist. Oh, he's not Palestinian. He's for the Anadolu news agency out of Turkey, which of course Turkey is very much in favor of the Palestinians, anti-Israel, doing its best to demonize Israel in any way. The Turks have been doing that actually for many years, going back to the flotilla that they sent to Gaza some years ago, claiming that they didn't have basic supplies. And of course, on the flotilla ended up being jihad supplies they were sending, machine guns and things like that. The Mavi Marmara. And so, in response to that, to all this deception and all these lies, we have the Prime Minister of Canada, the Prime Minister of Britain, and the President of France. And there they are, Mark Carney, Keir Starmer, and Emmanuel Macron. And they have announced plans to recognize a Palestinian state at the United Nations next month.
Good idea.
And
Good idea.
Trump was asked whether he was going to do it, and he said, if you do that, you're rewarding Hamas. And I'm not about to do that.
You basically be saying, hey, if you're a terrorist state and you want global recognition as a state and you're a terrorist state, just go kill and rape and torture a bunch of people and take a bunch of hostages and then hide underground, wait for the retaliation to come, keep all the women and children above ground while you hide underground so that a bunch of women and children die in the retaliation, and get a bunch of morons to protest for you around the planet, and boom, everyone will fall for it and give you your own state. And so you're basically saying, if you want a state, terrorism is the way to go.
Yeah, there they are. It's really incredible, and there's more, as always. So France, I think we discussed it last time, a couple weeks ago, David, that France had given persecution status to everybody in Gaza. Everybody in Gaza is persecuted and can apply for asylum in France on that basis. So the whole of Gaza could get up and move to the French Riviera tomorrow.
Couldn't happen to a more deserving nation, Robert.
So France has had little trouble because there is a student, a Gazan student, who actually did take a hold of this promise, Noor Atalla. And so she started to post, once she's safely in France, started to post, and she's being housed by the director of Sciences Po, a very exclusive academy where she was given a scholarship in France, and she posted on social media, "Kill the Jews everywhere," along with praise of Hitler.
Well, I'm guessing they're going to start hearing that a lot more with their new batch of asylum seekers.
Yeah, well, Noor Atalla is actually getting deported. They're sending her back.
What?
Yeah, and I think, man, are they going to be in for a surprise when the rest of them show up?
Yeah, and you have to wonder because, it's not like, oh, now they're going to change their views or something. At most, they'll just say, okay, be more careful and use some pseudonyms for your accounts when you post this stuff.
Yeah, it's just like we've seen a steady stream of these stories over the years, David. European states, Germany, France, whatever, they find some imam who's preaching that the last hour will not come until Muslims kill Jews, and the Jews hide behind trees, and the trees say, "Oh, Muslim, there's a Jew hiding behind me, come and kill him." And the authorities say, "Oh no, this is anti-Semitism," and they deport the guy. And I think, what are they going to do when they find out that this is mainstream Islam, that Muslims believe Muhammad actually said this? What are they going to do? They're going to have to close all the mosques, but I'm not thinking that's likely to happen. Had a story about that, as a matter of fact. Got to find it. There is a... Oh, here he is. Because people... that's one of those things, there's so many of these things that people say, "Oh, you're a liar. Oh, we don't believe that," and so on and so on. And this genocidal hadith is one of them, where the one that I just quoted, that Muhammad says, "The last hour will not come until Muslims kill Jews," and so on. And the trees where the Jews are hiding, they say what you see on the screen. This is a Lebanese journalist, and he said it. He quoted this on Al-Manar TV, which is Hezbollah's TV channel. His name is Khodr Talib, And he said, "I wish the Nazis would have burned all those Jews," which is funny because usually they deny that the Nazis killed Jews. But anyway, Mahmoud Abbas's doctoral thesis in the Soviet Union was about how the Holocaust didn't really happen. But in any case, this guy, he's assuming it happens. And he quotes it, "On Judgment Day, the trees and the rocks will say, 'O Muslim, O servant of Allah, there's a Jew hiding behind me, come and kill him.' This is what we believe in. This is our historical imperative, as Muslims at least." So,
Hey,
yep.
oh, I just wanted to point out a little side note to connect to what we were talking about earlier. One of the issues in the judge dismissing the hijab lawsuit was he said he wasn't so you had the thing where he says he's not insulting Hindus, just the Hindutva and so on. The judge is like, "You're making fun of them for reincarnation. What's that sound like you're making fun of them for?" And then he was asked, "Yes, but Hindutva is different from Hinduism. You can be Hindutva without being Hindu." And he said, the judge said, or the lawyer said, "Name someone who's Hindutva but not Hindu." And he said, I kid you not, Robert. He said, "Benjamin Netanyahu."
Oh,
Um, yeah, so that was good. But
wow.
there was also the thing where he was attacking Jews, not physically. He's like stirring things up with Jews, and then he said, "No, no, no, it was just Zionists and so on." And so the
Mhm.
response was, "Wait a minute, you're standing in front of a giant screen on the side of a van that had a concentration camp." And it said, like, I forget what it said, something like, do we not remember the Holocaust or something like that? Like, it's a threat, right? It was a threat. And so it's brought up, hey, you're saying you're not provoking Jews. You're only going after Zionists. You're not provoking Jews, but you go to a Jewish area and you're standing in front of a sign telling them to remember the Holocaust with a bunch of people in concentration camps. So how are you saying you're not offending? You're not trying to be offensive to Jews? And he actually said, "What? I didn't know what was behind me. What? There was a van behind me." And anyway, they took all these pictures. He's there all day. He's there all day in front of this van and facing it and stuff like this. And anyway, he was just exposed as a ridiculous liar. But anyway, that's Dawa. So point is, all these things connect, Robert.
See, this is the worst aspect of being banned from entering Britain, is that I couldn't get a big box of popcorn and go watch that trial.
That would have been fun. But I mean, think about this, Robert, because notice it's all the same thing. And it's been happening over and over again. So you had Sheikh Uthman ibn Farouk. He covers himself in fake blood. And
Mm-hmm.
the kuffar, they stabbed me because they're Islamophobes. I blame David Wood and apostate prophet, right? So you had that. That's why they call him Sheikh ibn Fibbin and Sheikh ibn Smollett and so on. Just recently, a couple days ago, Lily J posted a video where she's at some little outside cafe and she's got a drink, and oddly enough, she's being filmed from multiple camera angles as she just has has her drink at a cafe, and then someone comes up and throws the drink on her lap, not in her hair, so as not to mess up her hair. So you have that, like, that's fake, and then you've got the Pallywood, and
Oh
then you've
yeah.
got Muhammad Hijab. He's deemed a liar in court, and he's lying about this. It's like, I've been to prison. I've never seen like a community where lying is so completely acceptable. It's like there's no problem at all with lying. And the real question is, once you start recognizing this, how do you take anything any of these guys say seriously? Like, it should be, if you want us to believe anything you say, you need to bring conclusive proof, because you saying it is absolutely worthless, as the judge ruled in the hijab case.
Glorious time to be alive.
Mm-hmm.
But not for this guy. I wanted to get to this guy before we move on from starving Palestinians. That guy, he really could be in a Curly from the Three Stooges look-alike contest, but he is starving. And he is a Gazan who is saying that they need to start sending in the aid. Because look how starving he is, David.
Yeah, poor guy can barely stand up.
He probably dropped 100 pounds in the last few weeks. You never know. He's down
You,
to
you know what?
300.
You know what's crazy, Robert? So they kind of have to hand pick people with diseases and stuff to say they're starving.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who wants to can look up starving children in Yemen, and then you'll see lots and lots and lots of actual starving children who are starving because there's no food. But that's Muslims attacking Muslims, so it's just not relevant.
Doesn't count. Can't blame Israel. All right, Ireland. Abdullah Khan, 23 years old, goes to Dublin city centre, starts to wave a knife around, confronts police, stabs one of the police officers. And he was given free legal aid, and his address has been concealed for fear of an Islamophobic backlash.
That's a good idea. And that's why we should always keep names of, even no matter what it is. If it's grooming gangs and stuff like that, keep their names out of everything, because you don't want people to get a bad reputation or something like that.
No. Above all, we don't want people to think ill of Islam. Mm-hmm. So, this is Omar Khairi. I don't know if you saw him.
I thought he was the Joker first.
Well, that's what the jihadis have done. They found him singing at a wedding in Syria. And music being forbidden, they began to draw on him. And you see that's the markings you see all over his face. But they also beat him and cut off his hair in order to humiliate him, because, of course, music is forbidden. They were actually making him sing songs while they were drawing on him with a marker. And that's what he's in. That's a screenshot from that video.
So we've heard it again, ladies and gentlemen. Raping prepubescent girls, nothing wrong with that. Beating women, nothing wrong with that. Taking women as sex slaves, nothing wrong with that. Singing, well, that's where the great God Allah draws the line.
Yes. All right. Speaking of drawing the line, France is drawing the line. France, where they're about to recognize the Palestinian state, where they are overwhelmed by migrants who want to bring Sharia to France. A 27-year-old man has been sentenced to 1 year in prison by the Lyon Criminal Court for burning a Quran in front of a mosque. This was degradation committed on the grounds of race, ethnicity, nation, or religion. The defendant denied being an Islamophobe and said he was the victim of his illness, that he's a paranoid schizophrenic. So he tried the mental illness gambit in reverse. We see jihadis routinely classified as mentally ill all over Europe, including maybe even especially France. This guy burns the Quran and says, oh no, it's because I'm schizophrenic.
Hey, I have to say, these guys should start using an Islamophobia defense, right? A phobia is a mental illness, so why not just have a mental illness, right? Like if you have arachnophobia, right? You're terrified of spiders, and you see a spider and you like jump away from it and you run into someone. They're not going to sue you. They're not going to find you guilty of assault if you hit someone while you were jumping away from a spider. They're going to be like, you have a mental illness. You have an irrational fear of spiders that caused you to jump into this person. Well, if people are Islamophobes and they have a mental illness, so why would you hold them accountable? Just send them to a mental hospital for a couple days till they're better.
Well, this unnamed defender, he's getting 1 year in prison.
For burning a book.
For burning a book, of which there are literally billions of copies.
If only someone had warned them that this sort of thing is going to happen.
There was nobody to do that, David. Nobody was calling attention to these issues. For the last 25 to 30 years, not a soul.
Not one.
Has spoken a negative word about Islam.
Yep. No one was saying this 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago. No one at all. So no one could have possibly foreseen this coming. And no one was saying things that long ago and then obviously turned out to be 100% correct.
That's right. Any such person was just a bigoted, racist Islamophobe and duly shunned by all decent people. All right, UK, once again. Ahmad Mulahil and Mohammed Kabir, two guys from Afghanistan, now settled in the UK. They are charged with the rape of a 12-year-old girl. But the police advised authorities not to reveal their background for fear of inflaming community tensions.
Mm-hmm.
And so while the rape was reported, it was two men who did it, and there was no indication that they were Afghans or Muslims or migrants. That was all covered up.
And they have to. They know it's coming, Robert. They know it's coming. They know something is going to come, and some story is going to set people off, and people are going to eventually get fed up, and they're going to start burning things in the streets and so on. Because why? Because what you're doing, you're not giving people any peaceful way of dealing with this, and eventually they're going to get so insanely fed up that they're ready to have a civil war over it. And you can avoid it. You can avoid it any step of the way, and you just won't. It's insane.
Yep, it's insane, and there's so much of it, David. We could do the whole show on this. Here's another story out of the UK. 3 British men. This is the Daily Mail. All right, here's the story. 3 British men have appeared in court in Croatia charged with the gang rape of a local woman at a popular holiday resort. And here we go. This is the second paragraph of the Daily Mail story. Ami Arifi, 29, Gezim Jaffa, 28, and Sokib Shakibi, 24, appeared before an investigating judge on Thursday.
All traditional British names. Mm-hmm.
Yes, 3 British men. They are actually, none of them, of course, are English or Scottish or Welsh or Irish. They are all migrants. They are all Islamic jihadis. They gang raped a woman out of the same out of the assumptions arising from the same Islamic teachings, calling for the rape of infidel women, etc., etc. Captives of the right hand.
3 British men. 3 British men. See how they rape. See how they rape. I notice British men have been dialing up the rape over the past decade, Robert. Weird.
You got to wonder why that is.
Yeah, they just a bunch of British guys just woke up one day. Hey, we're going to go start raping as many girls as possible.
Get Dad and Uncle Ahmed in on it.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's all in the family. All right, we also have in Britain, very interesting thing. This one ad appeared on a government website. You probably saw this. It was widely distributed.
Yep.
And Brother Rashid said I should apply, and I thought he would be perfect actually to apply because he's got the background. His dad was an imam and all that, and it'd be just perfect for this job. It doesn't really pay very well though. £23,500 a year. That's a full-time job. I mean,
you get all kinds of payoffs and stuff like that to side with the right guy. So
maybe you should apply, David.
I'll do it. My rule will be firm yet fair.
Yes. The best Sharia law, Dawood Wood, the best Sharia law administrator that Britannistan has ever had.
There will be lashes, Robert.
All right. Let's go to Africa. And I thought that since we've talked about this many times, I thought this time I would produce a map. Because Togo has had 54 people killed this year alone in jihad attacks. And I thought that people need to get a little idea of what's happening here. That Nigeria, we have had so many stories. There's an ongoing jihad there. Broadly speaking, generally, not universally, the northern part of Nigeria is Muslim and the southern part is Christian. And there's ongoing jihad by the Muslims in the north against the Christians in the south. Meanwhile, Benin, which is right, you see it to the west of Nigeria, there was nothing for years. At jihadwatch.org, I have different categories for each country. Whenever there's jihad attacks, I put the category so people can go and look up. If they want all the stories about jihad attacks in Nigeria, I got them there in the single category. Or Mauritania, or Mali, or Burkina Faso, or Niger. But Benin, I had no jihad for like 20 years. And then suddenly we started seeing it. And there have been several jihad attacks in Benin in the last few years. And then you see to the west of Benin, very small, but you can see it, it's Togo. And that is where 54 people now have been killed so far this year in jihad attacks. I have no jihad attacks, or hardly any, over the last 25 years in Ghana or Cote d'Ivoire or Liberia, which of course has its own problems. But the jihad is clearly advancing, and I will make a daring prediction here that within the next few years we will see jihad attacks in Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Liberia, and then Guinea, Sierra Leone, etc., as the jihad continues to advance. Is this not something that you have remarked upon as well many times?
Yep. And right when you were saying it, I was thinking, give them time, Robert, give them time. But you take places like, I just looked it up. So Togo, 18% of the population Muslim. But that's plenty. That's plenty.
Yes. As a matter of fact, in Africa in general, 150,000 deaths tied to jihad groups over the last decade. And I think that's probably a low estimate, actually, given the virulence of the jihad and the reluctance of authorities everywhere to discuss it and to attribute. In Nigeria, actually, they were pretty honest about it for many years. But now, last year or so, they've started talking about attacks by bandits and things like that are clearly euphemisms for jihadis, like we see in Europe when they say youths are rioting in Paris and so on.
Yeah, and also they'll attribute it to tribal conflicts, even though it's a Muslim tribe attacking a non-Muslim tribe and so on. Or they'll say it's the traveling herdsmen who are attacking the farmers and stuff like that, when it's Muslims attacking non-Muslims and so on. So they'll always look for different ways to describe what's going on.
Always. Meanwhile, we're seeing the next stage all over the West and the Anglosphere in general. And this is a video, I don't know if you saw this. This is a screenshot from a video of Muslim demonstrators in Australia, in Sydney. And they are calling out to the Australians who are there counter demonstrating, pack your bags, pack your bags. As in, this is our country now. That's what this guy is on the screen here was saying in this video. And
well, good time to take a trip to Australia, man. Go down there, check out a kangaroo, cuddle a koala, and get jihaded.
Yeah, we got another one from the demonstrators that they burned Australian flags and spray painted, as you can see on the street, abolish Australia. And there they are in Australia, having been welcomed by the Australian state, many of them on welfare because they don't believe that they should have to work. They believe the infidels ought to be paying for their upkeep, as per the Quran. So they are getting the results of what they have pursued as policies, even though they denied that those would be the results and excoriated those who said they would suffer those results as Islamophobic bigots. All right, here's a story out of India. And we have the double picture on the right. We have a man named Sheikh Rais. And then on the left, that is Bhagyashri Namdev Danuk. And he brutally murdered her after she refused his marriage proposal. He wanted her to marry him and convert to Islam, and she refused. She was a Hindu woman, and he stabbed her. Where do you think he stabbed her, David?
I'll go with neck for 200, Alex.
You win 200 and move on to Double Jeopardy, because that is indeed where she was stabbed. And that is in accord with the Quran's statement, when you meet the unbelievers, strike the necks. This is a result of another statement in the Quran, chapter 2, verse 221, which says, do not marry idolatresses until they believe. And so this young woman, being a Hindu, is considered an idolatress by the Muslims. So Sheikh Rais wanted to marry her. He had to get her to convert to Islam first. And when she refused, then she is an enemy of Allah, and he can lawfully kill her. So that is the kind of jihad that we often hear about, but don't connect it to the same teachings that lead to violent attacks against individuals in the West. But it's all really the same idea, that the Muslim community must grow, the non-Muslim community must diminish. And these are always the imperatives. Out of Pakistan, got a story that is in a similar vein. A man named Qazi Nigah Mustafa Chisti, who is affiliated with an Islamic organization, Markaz Ahl Sunnat Jamia Masjid Hamid Shah Company Bagh Sargoda. I'm not going to say that again.
5 times. 5 times.
He is distributing conversion certificates to Christians. And the idea is that he gives them the certificate, says you have converted to Islam. If they say no, then they are blasphemers or apostates or both. And if they say yes, mission accomplished. The idea is always to expand the Muslim community at the expense of the non-Muslim community. That is always the objective. Oh, I had a story out of Australia, and here's a related story out of the Netherlands. It's only related because of those, remember those nurses in Australia who boasted about killing Jewish patients?
Mm-hmm.
Muslim nurses in Australia. And so we had another one of these. This is a lady in the Netherlands, a Muslim nurse named Batisma Hayat Saeed. And she said that she administers lethal injections to Israeli and Jewish patients. And this was something that Geert Wilders actually warned about some time ago and was excoriated as an Islamophobe for doing so. And now here is a nurse in the Netherlands saying that's exactly what she does.
Isn't that interesting? You can have these people saying, "Hey, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna actually kill people if we think you're on the wrong side of an issue." And they say that, but if you were to say, you know what, I'm a little nervous around these people because some of them will actually kill me for disagreeing with them, they throw you in prison. They throw you in prison for saying that.
Oh yeah. There's no doubt about it. If I had a Muslim doctor and I said I'd rather have a different doctor, please, well, in the first place, nobody would take that seriously. and it would be a legal problem as
It'd be
well as.
international news for the next 6 months.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. There's no doubt it would be a big uproar. It would be a lot of trouble, and yet when you have it's not unusual now. You have this lady in the Netherlands. We had the story out of Ohio that I think we talked about some time ago of a Muslim doctor who saw a congressman, a pro-Israel congressman, on the highway and started trying to run him off the road and yelling at him about freeing Palestine and all that. And you had a woman, a doctor, female doctor in Ohio also, a few years back. I believe her name was Laura Kolob, if I recall correctly, who was saying that she would kill Jewish patients. And she actually lost her medical license as a result of that, ultimately.
Just for
But
that?
it had to be an uproar. She had said it, and it went on for years, practicing medicine until people started calling attention to it. And so it's just incredible to me that anybody would want to go to a doctor who would say that, because you never know. You know, you might not be Jewish, but you might be end up on their list for some other reason. And so there's perfectly reasonable grounds for being suspicious of some Muslim doctors at very least when others are saying these things. But of course, these kinds of concerns are not allowed to be enunciated. You just can't say them. It's Islamophobic. All right, we had a flight in Spain, and you know, David, when you take long flights and they give you a choice of your meal, and you can get kosher meal or even a halal meal if you wish. And so some Jewish passengers on this flight in Spain, they got a kosher meal, and when they got it, it was written on it, "Free Palestine." You saw, there it is, the kosher meal says "Free Palestine." This kind of harassment of civilians who have nothing to do with the Israeli war effort, it would not be tolerated if it were any other group. You know, if one country A is at war with country B, and you're over another part of the world in country C, and you start getting harassed because you're a national of the one country, there would be an uproar. But in this case, nobody seems to mind.
Yeah, it reminds me. Before my debate with Daniel, I walked into the church. He's sitting there, and I said, I walked up to him to shake his hand, and then he wouldn't shake my hand. And then he said, "Say Free Palestine, and I'll shake your hand." I said, and so I yelled, "Free Palestine from Hamas," and he still wouldn't shake my hand, even though I yelled it. So anyway, big hypocrite.
Now, I just don't understand that. You did what he asked.
Did
He
exactly
didn't
what he
say,
said.
don't say anything else after you say "Free
Yeah, he didn't say I have to be
Palestine."
quiet for the rest of my life. Wasn't part of the agreement.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing old Hakikaju in November when we debate, and we'll see. See what conditions he puts on shaking his august hand by that time. All right. In Britain also, as if they didn't have enough trouble, turns out that they have a summer camp that's being run. And I have a heartwarming photo of the people in a class in this summer camp learning from Sheikh Syed Hussein Makeh, who is a Shiite preacher. It's a Shiite camp. You can see that women are allowed to go to it. And this is a girls' class. And it turns out that it's a training camp involving combat training as well as Shiite Islamic teachings. It's a camp about Allah-centric masculinity and brotherhood, with wrestling classes and various other classes. Called the Spiritual Warfare Project runs it. And it turns out that this preacher is an open supporter of Hezbollah, who called Hassan Nasrallah, the former leader of Hezbollah, who was killed some time ago, one of the world's greatest freedom fighters, and said that his resistance was alive and well. So what do you think, David? What are the prospects for Britain's future when they have pro-Hezbollah summer camp going on, and nobody seems to mind at this point?
Kind of a drop in the ocean of what's going on there, isn't it?
Yeah, the whole thing is, well, like you said, if only somebody had been around to warn them, but no, nobody was there. They made sure of that because they banned us from entering. So nobody was there to warn them. All right, it is, ladies and gentlemen, it's the favorite time of the morning. It is Super Chats time. And so, whoops. Right, we got Abu Bakr Al Puff Daddy saying UK government hiring Sharia law administrators. Thoughts? Well, we ended up talking
Already
about
answered.
that. Yep. And we have Hey D Dubs from Miro Hero. Have you seen Orthodox Muslims' response to you guys talking about his lips?
I mean, I don't know if this person's talking about a video or something like that, but me and AP on AP's live stream yesterday, he posted Orthodox Muslim whining. It's just funny that they're using the methods from like 15 years ago, and they think everyone's going to be offended. Oh no, we're talking about him using duck lips in his clip. Oh no, all the guys who want to kill and subjugate us and take our women as sex slaves and stuff like that, they made fun of his lips for posing like this. You ever seen that? Remember? I don't know how much you were on. I don't know. Yeah, no. I mean, like it was a thing like 10 years ago where women would take selfies, but they'd all do this thing with their lips.
Yeah,
and they called it duck lips and stuff. Anyway, he comes over to our live stream the other day. It's me, God Logic, Inspiring Philosophy, and AP, and he starts whining about everything and stuff like that, and then God Logic starts pointing out, "Hey, why'd you copy like my photo style and stuff like that?" And I'm like, "No, he's doing that thing with his lip. What is this? That?" And I couldn't remember what it's called. And I go, "Is it called duck lips?" So this is Orthodox Muslim. That's his channel. And then we all started calling him Orthodox Lips, Orthodox Lips Muslim, Orthodox Lips Muslim. And now he's been crying about it nonstop, apparently. Not realizing we don't care, Orthodox Lips. Just change your picture. You're going to have to, because for the rest of your entire career, if you have that picture, people are going to call you Orthodox Lips Muslim.
It's like Thomas More said, the devil is a proud spirit. He cannot endure to
be mocked. Mm-hmm.
There you go. That's why Dawagandists need to be mocked as often as possible. Douglas Murray should be the next 007. Dawa tears, shaken, not stirred. Thank you. Yes, good idea. I'm all for it. Did Hijab have clothes on during cross-examination? At least a shirt. The irony of his name is that he should be modest to avoid the eagle eyes of Azut. Yes.
He's trying to tempt the Azut.
False narrative. IDF starves Gaza. Will it be debunked? Well, we're working on it. I think we debunked it earlier. You see, the principle of embarrassment is powerless by those who are embarrassed by none of it. Well, that is the argument against the principle of embarrassment. Indeed.
Unless you can tell by the sources that they are in fact embarrassed, which we can.
Where?
What?
Where?
Oh, satanic verses, man.
That's later, though. They're not embarrassed at the beginning. They're only embarrassed later when they take it out.
It's like we got like a trillion first Islamic century sources on it.
That's what I mean. They obviously weren't embarrassed by it then. They're embarrassed by it later.
They started watering it down in the first century. I would say, why are you watering down a story that you're making up?
Okay, we're going to have to debate this.
Mm-hmm. You will be humiliated.
Yeah.
Hey, we should have the debate specifically on the satanic verse. I'm just saying that because I was telling everybody that this is the year of the Islamic dilemma. Next year is going to be, we're going to go after Muhammad in the Bible and the satanic verses next year. So maybe we have a debate just on the satanic verses.
I'm all for it. But in any case, the argument is not that it had to be made up like out of nothing. Maybe it no doubt has something to do with somebody whose stories go into the Muhammad myth. And then they have to deal with it. Once they take all this material, put it into the stuff, put it into their sources, Then they got to deal with the implications of it, start watering it down.
That's a
Anyway,
lot of plagiarized satanic verses story. I have to say, if that was a story that applied to someone else and I say, hey, I want that to be about my new prophet, I'd probably pick a different story.
you would, sure. But the moral of the story is that Allah always protects the prophet and corrects his errors, even in extreme cases. So there's not really a problem with it. We're going to have to do the debate, David.
You will be humiliated.
Yeah, yeah. Ha! You will be the latest to try and fail. I did not have mutal relations with that woman, Monica Hijab.
I did not have mutual relations with that.
I guess you got to say that with an Arkansas accent. Who is your favorite character from Islamic texts? My favorite is Zainab al-Harith and Muhammad's
She's
cousin
definitely a
who
good
left
one.
the death cult of Islam. Well, she is a looker. I don't know. I haven't given
No,
that a whole lot of thought.
no, Zainab al-Harith, not Zainab, Muhammad's
Oh,
wife.
sorry. Yes.
That's a Jewish woman who poisoned him. There's
Yeah.
too many Zainabs in those
Yeah.
in this story.
Well, I see Al Harith and I'm thinking of Zainab bin Haritha, his original name. Anyway, wrong Zainab. Sorry.
Yeah, she's pretty cool. There are some others who are pretty cool. I actually
Yeah,
like
Zainab
Aisha.
bin Jahash is
Yeah,
the good looking one.
yeah. I also like Aisha. She's like a habitual trash talker and stuff, but
Yeah,
she'll say it in these ways where you can actually think she's saying something positive when she's like, "Your Lord hastens to satisfy your wishes and
yeah.
desires." And if you're on Muhammad's side, you're like, "Yes, this is the truth." Whereas if you're anyone else, you're like, "She's making fun of him."
That's priceless. Yeah, that is a
Yep.
great line.
Classic Aisha. Just sucks what they had to do to her.
Netanyahu says IDF going to occupy Gaza. Agree? It's a very difficult situation. I'm glad he's the prime minister and I ain't. Would you want to have Hamas vowing to destroy you at your doorstep forever? Do they have to put up with that? You got to have some other solution. Trump was talking about the Americans taking it over. That's not practical. There was talk about the UAE and what was the other one? Egypt taking it over. That's not practical either because it's not really going to stop the jihadis. So what else? You got a better idea?
That's what Islam does, and that's what specifically terrorist groups do as well. They specialize in putting you in a situation where there is no good ideal outcome at all, no matter
Mm-hmm.
what you choose to do. You let it go, okay, then it's endless terrorist attacks. You go in and crush everyone, then they claim to be victims and demonize you. It doesn't matter what you do; they can complain that you're the bad guy.
Mm-hmm. Another aspect of this is the fact that it's a rule of warfare from time immemorial that a country that is attacked and defeats the attacker can take territory from the attacker in order to protect itself from future such attacks. This has happened throughout history. Nobody's ever raised a peep of protest about it. Where's Königsberg? Find me Königsberg on the map. Ancient German city for over 1,000 years. Now it's Kaliningrad in Russia. Why? Because the Nazis started a big war and they lost it. And they lost all their eastern territories and nobody complained. They deserved to lose them. It's the same principle here. Where's Danzig? The whole war started over Danzig. Where's the city of Danzig? Oh, it's Gdansk in Poland. Why? Same thing. All right. Where would that so-called Palestinian state be? I vote for the French Riviera. The French are bringing them all in now anyway. Do you have a theory as to why Spain, Ireland, and Norway is in the vanguard of Western anti-Semitism and the cause of Palestine? I don't know. I think it's just the dominance of the left in their politics. Ireland, it's perhaps a little more complicated because Ireland, going back to World War II and their hatred for the British, going back before that, they are a little bit at odds with the rest of the West. And the West, historically having been allied with modern day Israel, they're more readily against it. Missed you last week. Really wish you weren't banned from UK. Our government should be listening to you. Has the whole world gone mad? Well, quite, yes. A good bit of it, my good man, but stiff upper lip and all that. Hijab, enjoy your shower. Mohammed, half the punishment of the grave is from urine. Well, that's why he wants to give the golden shower. So then you go to hell. It's just like the Iranian authorities raped women who were in prison, so they go to hell. Nobody talks about this directly, even Victor Davis Hanson, but a pet theory of mine is that the unique brutality of the conquistadors has a lot to do with being demoralized by Islam. Possibly. I think that that's kind of related to the discussions that have been going around lately about how the mafia comes from Islam and the Islamic occupation of Sicily for several centuries and starting in the ninth. And, well, possibly. Can you share your funniest story or experience with Dawa guys or jihadists? What do you think, David? You got a good story?
Oh, I don't know. My brain's kind of fried over this trip. Sure, I have plenty of them. Um, First one that kind of pops up is I was doing this recorded debate with me and a Muslim guy, and Nabil was actually moderating, and he was doing a crap job. Everything he was saying was terrible, and he's just like trying to quote Bart Ehrman left and right. Um, but anyway, there was a little break before our conclusions, and then the guy came and said, "Hey, I'm having a lot of heart pains. I'm having a lot of heart pains. Can we change our concluding statement time from 5 minutes to 3 minutes?" And I'm like, "You can speak 3 minutes. I'm going to speak my 5 minutes." And then Nabil was going, come on, man. The guy's having heart problems, man. He might be having a heart attack. Do what he wants." And I was like, okay, fine. So I went ahead and just used 3 minutes for my concluding statement. And then, of course, the guy suddenly felt fine and then went on for 5 minutes and then some. And so anyway, so afterwards I was like, okay, all right, you're going to pull that little stunt. I'm not even going to post this debate. And so it's never been, I don't even think it's ever been posted. It's like, you did a crap job, but I'm like, I'm done with you, man. Trying to get slick like that. But anyway, that's probably around a third of the debates I've done. Someone pulled a stunt like that. And it's just normal. It's just acceptable. And we've seen this over and over again.
I did a debate once where I had to debate both sides because the imam, it was an imam in Texas, and this one may still be on YouTube. I think his name was Bashir al-Haq, if I recall correctly, but it was many years ago. He was an imam in Texas. He really wasn't as nasty a jerk as these Dawagandists are now. He was not a creep, but in any case, he was having a lot of trouble in the debate, and I realized the argument he was trying to make, but he was really fumbling. And so you can watch the YouTube. I said, you're I understand you're trying to say this, and I had to argue his side and then refute it. And so he didn't even really have to show up. I could have just wore a longer beard and played his role. Who's the best Islamic apologist, David?
That it depends on what criteria you're using. Like if you're talking about who's most convincing to Muslims, that's some chest thumping Dawa idiot. If you're talking about someone who would be most persuasive to non-Muslims or something like that, then you're going to get one of the more academic guys or something like that.
Maybe Shabir Ali.
Yeah, but yeah, kind of back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
or even one of the like non orthodox guys like Khalil Andani or something like that. If you're listening to Khalil, you think,
Reasonable.
yeah. Mhm.
Until you realize he's lying about everything. All right. Thank you both for what you guys do. Any insight on Islam banning music and art? Well, they do ban it. They don't want you to be enjoying yourself. They want you to be fighting for Allah. I don't really know what you're looking for here.
It's also interesting that you have that in the Muslim sources, and yet so you got all these guys trying to crack down in Western nations on things like music and so on, and yet Saudi Arabia's got Iggy Azalea twerking on stage now. It's just interesting times.
Yes. Yeah, they're gonna give up Islam while the West takes it on, and the
Mm-hmm.
whole thing will just flip.
Gonna reverse.
All right, a limerick for you, Robert. The Quran's claims to be oh so clear, then why do they need the tafsir? It all seems like a scam, but then this is Islam. Anyway, the Azut made Muhammad quite queer. Okay, thank you very much.
Pretty Islamophobic.
Yep. And we got, did I hear right that you'll debate Daniel Hakikaju in November? Yes, that is the schedule. We'll see. David showed he debates in bad faith. Yeah, I know Hakikaju debates in bad faith. And you know, I've said on this show that I'm not really interested in debating these liars and clowns because it's just pointless. But I couldn't really resist because he wanted to debate about which is most reliable, the New Testament or the Hadith. Now, that's such a ridiculous idea to start with that there's even any competition when the New Testament, everybody, even the craziest, most far out biblical scholar, agrees that the New Testament was all complete by the end of the first century. And there's no Hadith in the first century of Islam. There's no Hadith for 200 years after Muhammad is supposed to have lived. So it's really kind of an open and shut situation. And it'll be interesting to see. He'll probably spend the whole time talking about Israel instead. Anyway, that brings us to the end of the Super Chats. Thank you all very much. And thank you for tuning in. If there's any more jihad, then David and I are going to be back, God willing, to deal with it. Until then, pray, hope, and don't worry.